Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm David.
And this is the Practical Guitarist Podcast.
The podcast for people who eat, sleep, and breathe guitar. The Practical Guitarist Podcast is brought to you by Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Great Lakes Guitar Pickups provides fantasy tones at prices a practical guitarist will love. Featuring top-notch construction, attention to detail, and a fully custom product, if you can dream it, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups can probably build it. Follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Are you a regular listener? Why not? David here reminding you of all the ways you can participate in the Practical Guitarist Podcast. Subscribe using your chosen podcast app. Review us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Play. Find our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Practical Guitarist or on Twitter as @PractGuitarist. Support the show. Merchandise is available in our Threadless store at practicalguitaristpodcast.threadless.com. And donate to us via Patreon, available at patreon.com/practicalguitarist. Reach out to us directly via email at questions@practicalguitarist.com. Hi, Jim.
Hi, David.
So you may have noticed that I got my delivery notice from Fedex this week for the secret guitar. So they sent me a FedEx notice, and they said that it would be delivered on Monday, but then it arrived in Chicago yesterday, and it was actually in Burbank, Illinois yesterday, which is a sorting facility, and it was in Chicago, and it was at my local delivery place, and they marked it out for delivery, and I was waiting like this morning for them. And of course, if you know anything about FedEx, they deliver between 9 and 3.
Yep.
So this thing happened between 9 and 3 where I thought I was going to miss them, and I didn't.
Yep.
And this guy showed up.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I just lied to Jim for like 5 minutes straight before the show. So I've ordered a, you know what this is, Jim. Come on.
I can't even guess. Is that a Steinberg? Steinberg?
No. Look at the body style. It's that body style that we talked about in the group.
The Kiesel.
Yeah. It's
nice.
the Zeus.
Nice.
It's the ugly ass Kiesel Zeus.
Yes.
So,
and it's got more strings than it needs.
It's got 7.
Oh, you can
7
throw
strings.
Away.
7 strings, dude. I really like this thing.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Dude, it's got a bird's eye maple neck, and you probably can't see the figuring over the camera. I'll send you pictures later.
I can see
a lot. Stunning.
I see a lot of figuring. You know what else I noticed that you like and I would not be able to stand? There's no fretboard marker.
Nope. There are, however, fretboard
on the side, right?
And they glow in the dark.
I love those.
There's luminolay. So I got black pickup covers. They're covered. I actually, people bitch about the Kiesel lithiums. So far, I like them.
Yeah.
So remember we were talking about Ghost, and you were like, "Oh, their guitar tones are super compressed." That's what it does.
Okay.
Like, it's very high output, like kind of. And for what I want to use this guitar for, it's perfect.
Right. And that's what I like about Ghost.
Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. Like, this is not black.
No, it's like a purple meets green meets black.
It's purple and green.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a purple green burst.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I like it.
For some reason, when I play guitars that don't have a headstock, and I'm sure you're going to Instagram this thing now.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to talk about it. Once I can.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole reason we're podcasting early.
Yeah.
Because I can't keep a lid on this very long.
So I'm an old man. I get up early, and then I take a nap in the afternoon. So today I got up really early, went grocery shopping, went back out, mailed John bought his pickups. He'll have those on Monday.
All right.
And shout out to John Bott. And John, if you're listening, please make a short video of you playing through them.
Yeah, I'm working on the other pickups, like demo video. That's why there's tape on the floor behind me and stuff, because I have tape marking where all the tripods go and everything. So,
yep. Even if it's just a reaction video to say, "Wow, I love these things," or "Wow, I can't stand them," whatever.
Yeah, John, record a video, just a short clip.
Yeah. Even if it's like, a 1 minute Instagram type thing. Something we can link to the podcast. So anyway, then I took a nap and Dave goes, do you want to do a thing? And I'm like, in about 2 hours, because I'm about to lay down. I have no idea how. I just lay down and I get up when I got up, and then I said, oh, I smell so bad you could smell me over the internet. So I took a shower.
That's what that was.
It was. So I'm going to do a video tonight. I got my stuff laid out. And but let's talk about that Kiesel. First of all, it looks gorgeous. Oh wow, that is a nice. So that's like a mono case type.
Yeah, it's like a mono case. It's got velvet inside.
Yeah.
Good storage package. Like it doesn't have a cable storage thing or loop for it, but it's actually it does. It's in the front package.
There you go.
So there is cable storage, phone storage, pens, all that good stuff that you need in a gig bag. The gig bag's really tough. Of course, shoulder straps.
Yeah, semi-hard.
It is not made for fat people, and it is definitely semi-hard. I would not, I could take this and put this on a plane, and if it did get checked, I wouldn't be that upset because I have a feeling it would be protected.
Yeah.
Jim, I can't,
Yeah. No.
I can't cut it in half. That's what I was trying to do.
Was it you that said the best reason not to use a hard shell is because they tend to be heavy, and then people will throw them?
That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. That's what I've heard. Use at your own risk. Obviously, anything that is going to immobilize your guitar inside and pad it completely. Basically, what you want is a padded condom.
Right.
Because
nothing's to guarantee that some jerk who's trying to shove their laptop bag or bottle of liquor that they just bought, trying to put on the plane, whatever. I don't know if you do that, but I'm just saying they just shove things. Have you seen people putting stuff in overheads and I know that sometimes things get broken in overheads. So I'm not saying that it happens much.
This guitar is less than 36 inches long. Actually, I'm looking to see. Usually I have a tape measure here, and I don't.
Well, it's not much longer than its scale length. So what's the scale length?
25 and a half. It's probably 8 longer.
8, yeah.
It's probably 8 inches longer than the scale length. But you can see my lap, it's much smaller than if you had the extra 4 or 8 inches of headstock and even the area below the bridge is.
Yeah, there's not a lot behind the bridge, but that's a tremolo, right? That's
a tremolo. It's a lot like a Floyd. It doesn't pull up as high, right. But it'll flutter. It'll do all that stuff. Yeah. I've been putting it through its paces today. I played it probably 3 to 4 hours total. In between episodes of Deep Space Nine. I've been watching. We've been binging the hell out of Deep Space Nine lately. So
I used to love that show.
Oh, I still love that show. I've seen it before. This is not the first time.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm binge watching something I already watched.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you just want noise in the background, Yeah. But yeah, so I've spent a good 4 or 5 hours. I'm still wrapping my head around the 7-string thing. I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it. The first thing that you notice going from 6 to 7 is, it doesn't the riffs where you pull off from the E string and you're doing an upstroke and you just let it go. You can't do that anymore. Nope. You're like, wait a minute. So you have to get real precise with the stuff you normally play on a 6-string. But
so I used to play a 7-string when I played in a country band. Believe it or not.
I remember that.
And it was strictly so I could bang away on those drop D and I could get to. There was a song by their name escapes me at the moment, and the one of the two guys in the band, Montgomery Gentry.
Okay,
Gentry passed away a couple years ago. It was real sad because a lot of us were close to. Anyway, I used to play a song by them. They had a C note that was below the E in one of their songs.
Yeah, so they were playing in a drop C tuning or something.
Yeah. It was really low. And for country, that's blue.
I don't know. Country kind of has its roots in that hillbilly downtune thing from banjos and all that. Yeah. So it makes sense. It's probably more to suit the singer than anything else. If you got a baritone like Johnny Cash was or something, you're gonna want those low notes available.
Absolutely.
So,
There was a lot of drop D though in country, and I used that guitar, and it was a Jackson 7 string.
yeah,
Uh,
I want to apologize to our listeners before we go any further. I have a horrible allergy thing going on right now. So
yeah, this time of year is terrible for that.
yeah, if you hear me coughing, blowing my nose, I apologize in advance. Um, did I do a good job with just whipping this guitar out of nowhere?
Dude,
I know. I want to say,
get out of
if you go back in the Facebook group and you search, there was a conversation about Kiesel Zeus's, probably early December, maybe late November.
Yeah.
And I remember asking people, like, what do you guys think of this body style? And it was like, they're ugly. They're horrible. They're ugly as sin. And I'm just sitting there laughing because I'm like, I'm just about to order one. Like, I know it's going to happen real soon. And originally I was going to get a Vader, which is like a Strat style. And I decided I was going to get the Zeus because I wanted something a little bit different. So sue me. I don't care if you like it. This isn't about you.
That is what is going to happen in a couple of weeks when mine shows up. So the one I ordered, I'm not going to say what it is. All I can say is it's a limited edition. It's actually a limited edition. It will only come out for a certain amount of time. Like I think it came out January. They announced them in December sometime. Came out in January. They're going to stop them here shortly. They're just sending whatever goes out to the stores now and then. And it's not like don't get crazy. It's not a crazy amount of money. But what happened is, if you look behind me, you'll notice there's no SG there. What happened was somebody walked up to me and asked me to be money for it. And it was more than I paid, and it was a perfect storm of timing, because when the person offered me money for my SG, I also was looking at this guitar. I saw a video for it, and I was like, you know what? I like that. I've been wanting one of these since I was young, and I have never owned one like that. So it was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to drop it. So I went ahead and delivered the SG. Then I went to the store and I ordered it.
Get a Les Paul custom?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Well, I will say that number one, you're going to hate it, and number two,
why do you think I'm going to hate it?
Because I know you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. You're going to hate on it, just like those people were hating on that.
Oh, I don't care if people hate on my guitar. Like, dude, you ask people, because there are people in the group that knew that I was getting this. And if you ask around, they'll tell you what I was telling people, which is like, I don't give a fuck what people think. This is I don't give a fuck guitar.
And this guitar that's coming in.
Sorry for all the expletives, but that's literally what I was saying.
Right. This is one of those ones where I said, you know what? I just don't care. I'm going for broke. And it's not super expensive. It's a limited edition, but it's not super expensive. So, but it's limited to a certain number, and I just wanted to get it. So anyway, that's what's in the box. And I made a call. I ordered it from Guitar Center. I'll say that. They said they had them in stock. I went there to order it, and I was expecting somebody to say 3 to 5 days, and they said next month. And I said, you are kidding me. And then I called Guitar Center online. I said, hey, you said you got these in stock. And they said, yeah, it's wrong. We have them back ordered, but you're number one in the slot. And do you want us to cancel your order? I said, no, I don't want to cancel the order. He goes, good, because we got one coming in 5 days. We've got like 5 days, and we're going to disperse those 5. So they come in little spurts. They don't get like 80 of them. They're getting like 5 or 10 at a time.
And it's only for this year, huh?
Yeah, and it's only. Actually, it's only for probably. Well, I don't know how long they'll get these little spurts, but so yeah.
Very, very cool.
Very cool. And I mean, all the retailers are going to get their limited number. I mean, Sweetwater will get a few. And get a few, and Andertons will get a few. Everybody's going to get a few, but I said, all right, I'm gonna pull the trigger on this. So I'll just say that, like I said, it's one that a lot of my biggest, influences music-wise have played, but it's not a Les Paul, and it's not an SG, and it's not a Telecaster, it's not a Stratocaster, it's not a PRS, and it's not, it's
not a 335.
Nope. Not a 335.
but it's probably a Gibson.
We'll see.
I'm just going down the road right here. I know what you ordered. I know what you ordered now.
I'll tell you what
you ordered the Slash Firebird, didn't you?
No. Believe it or not, the Izzy Hale, Lizzie, she doesn't have an I in her name. It's Lizzie. Anyway, the Lizzie Hale Thunderbird or Firebird or whatever, that did cross my mind. But
yeah, well, I
was looking at the Peter Frampton.
Yeah, well, I honestly, reason why
that's the one that really crossed. But you know what I found out about the Peter Frampton? Okay, there's two things about those two guitars. One, the Lizzie Hale might not happen. So I might have set my money off to the ether and then not got it because I'm not sure if the deal fell through or what, but Epiphone's site doesn't list it at all. Like coming, there is nothing online. Yeah, Guitar Center's listing it like they're going to get it in April. Then the Frampton guitar, you get a signed authenticity thing, right?
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's not free, or I mean, it's not. He's not signing them.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to because he's endorsing it.
Oh, I know, but it says clearly on the certificate unsigned. So I guess if you get to meet him, get him to sign it.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but
all the other ones are signed. For some reason, his is unsigned. So,
well, I'm excited. I want to see what you missed out on in your younger days.
Yeah.
Because you had some weird shit, man.
I had a lot of weird shit.
That flying V2 and
yep. I had a flying V, so it's not a flying V. I did talk about the Richie Faulkner flying V a while back, and that's one that I considered. And the Amos, I considered the Amos because those are, and so it's in that price range. You can see where the price range is. It's about $1,000. That's where.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, somebody will probably guess it. But
I would be shocked if some of our listeners find out. Dude, there's a lot of guitars in that price range.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of nice guitars. The beauty of this one is, even though it's made overseas and it's limited edition, the fact is that it's got a lot of quote unquote American parts. I'm not sure shipped them out.
I just already miss your SG. I don't think you should have parted with it.
I couldn't. The problem I have is I roll. That I do this. I roll on my volume and the tone all the time, and I could not get my fingers in there. I would stick my peak because I'm used to just sticking my hand down there and rolling. And I guess Angus Young has some really small fingers because I would roll the wrong knob all the time, or I would roll a knob on the back of my finger, or the one below it.
Sure. I find that on Gibson guitars in general, like I can't use the volume knobs because I don't like. I'm so used to the way that Fenders work, where you can get your pinky wrapped around them while you're playing.
Yep.
And I pretty much do it all the time. I don't think the Kiesel has that ability. I think it's oh no, the volume knob is definitely reachable.
Yeah. The other thing about Gibson volume knobs that until I started playing a Strat and of course playing my my PRSs, I like having an overall volume. Like the volume. So even if I got a Gibson or something like that, I would probably
have it modded.
Wired. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just had one volume knob.
I know people who've done that before. I also know people who have swapped the control positions with the selector switch because they hit it.
Yeah. I know I've seen video of Angus Young using SGs where one of the volume knobs is gone.
Yeah. He just took it out completely because it was just getting bumped too much or whatever.
Yep, just took it off because he tends to ride that thing constantly. Well, he has to. The volumes he plays.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that in person. I mean, I'm going to see it in a couple months, 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really, I'm super excited to see that in person.
Yeah. So
almost 3 months from the day.
Yeah. So the SG is the one that I know a lot of people have switched the volume knob and the selector switch.
Yep.
And or vice versa, they've put a tone knob there or a dummy knob in place of the selector switch.
Yeah,
because it gets bumped. Yeah.
Yep.
So, to each their own. Man, we got a lot of topics tonight. Let's just hit as many as we can.
We do. I got several written down.
Yeah. So and of course, if you think the Kiesel is ugly, let me know in the group.
Yeah. You got to put out some pictures so that people
Oh,
know.
I will. Don't worry.
So I've got the first thing I want to talk about is we're recording this on Saturday night.
Yep.
So there are a lot of people are out drinking green beer, and I'm staying off the roads because
because Jim doesn't want to die.
I want to live tonight. And
I was watching Live PD at the restaurant we were at. They had Live PD on, and you could see like there were several accidents on Live PD that were alcohol related.
Dude, it started last night. It was last night I was out, and that's why I went grocery shopping early this morning, because holy crap, I just don't want to deal with people who. Although I do have to say, and this is not guitar related, but my Walmart greeter was dressed as a Keebler elf type thing, and she even had the slippers, and it was so fun. I thanked her. I said, on my way out, they look at the receipt, make sure everything you've got it. I don't know how much they actually do. I think it's a courtesy thing, and they're giving an older person a job, and I appreciate it. I thanked her. I said, you brightened my day up, and it's only 7:30 in the morning. Right.
And then she said, why haven't you started drinking yet?
Yeah. I'm a little drunk already.
She's like, brighten your day. I don't even work here.
Yeah. I just wanted to see what you bought.
Yeah.
So I want to say to our listeners, watch out for more videos. David's posting fuzz videos and more fuzz videos on the way. So I've got some videos I'm actually going to shoot today and tomorrow. I finally got songs down under my thing, and I want to start talking about because I'm going to get there. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about what some of my videos are going to be about. So going there. So,
I'm working on improving the quality of my video. I spent 14 hours trying to render a video today, and that didn't work. So it ended up in the garbage. Going to be starting over this evening.
Was that the fuzz video?
No. This is the Great Lakes guitar pickups.
Oh, yeah.
But I know exactly what I'm going to do. So it's not that big a deal to reshoot it. But I just had too much noise in the footage. I might just use the noisy footage. I tried to remove the noise, and it was taking forever to render. And then apparently my computer didn't have enough hard drive space to render it, even though I had 44 gig available, which I'm like, how big is this file? So I went to go delete it. It was 46 gig or something. And I was like, all right, well, I guess that's not going to work.
Holy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well.
Well, now you know why people use SASs for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could have rendered it to my backup hard drive, which would have been fine. I have like a terabyte free on there.
Yep.
But I'm not. It's USB. Like I'm not putting that on there.
Oh, I know. That's the problem with a SAN. Unless you're using a SAN, like I can put a SAN on my network and do a gig.
I honestly couldn't imagine that the render time would have been affected by the fact that my hard drive is slower, because it would probably just push it right through.
Yeah.
Before it was taking so long to render one frame that it would just plop it on there and it would be like no big deal.
I was talking to Robert Jackson today about one of his videos, and I said, "Did you know this?" And he goes, "Oh, YouTube! Oh, damn you, YouTube!" So anyway, so I don't know if he's doing something with it, but check out his newest video.
We should talk about this guy too. I got this guy. This is the Boss WL20.
Yep.
I got it from Sweetwater.
What do you think?
I really like it. I had, of course, obviously I don't gig enough to have it used out, huh?
How does it charge? I see you got them plugged into each other there.
They have a port. Both of them have individual USB ports. So if you want to charge one and not the other, you can do that. But you put them together and you charge off of the transmitter. And once you charge it off the transmitter, it charges both at the same time, which is really cool. The other thing is, so this is ABS plastic. Now, I've had that guy in my hand, and the plastic on it feels like a toy almost.
It feels like a little child's toy, one that you would literally say like choking hazard.
This is more like the plastic they use to make guns.
Right.
Okay. This is a lot tougher. I still wouldn't trust it on a gig, because your weak point's not the plastic, it's the jack.
It's the jack.
Which feels really solid, but it's a proprietary jack because it has this little button on it, and that's how it knows to turn on and turn off. There's literally no buttons on this unit at all.
So obviously they thought about this before they they put it together. But so let's say you're on a Stratocaster where that damn jack, that was one of the problems I had with the initial ones like that it would not go into that.
You can
jack.
use a mono plug as an extender to do that if you want. I've been playing it with all of my guitars, and yeah, it sticks out. You got to be conscious of it, but it's not going to fall out or anything.
Okay.
It's very tough. The other thing is the way you pair it, literally just plug them together. And then it blinks. I think it blinks 10 times, and then they're synced. So the one thing I have to remind myself, because I've been playing in places where there's a lot of radio frequency noise or like Wi-Fi and that kind of stuff, is I have to do that every time I play, because it's going to reset the channel and look for the nicest channel to play. But a lot of times I just plug it in and it's like, wait a minute, this isn't working. Because I'll leave it sitting like this with the jack plugged in when I'm carrying it around or whatever. And if you do that, then you haven't set your channel when you go to use it. So you got to plug it in, right? You have to unplug it and then plug it back in, and then you're ready to go. It's kind of cool, but very good for home use. Not expensive. Sounds great. Actually prefer it to a cable because I use longer cables a lot of times. So I find it works really well.
At home, a cable can be such a pain in the ass. Obviously for shooting videos, it's almost a necessity, but for the most part, a cable is such a thorn in the side. I wind up stepping on it, and then I don't feel comfortable, and I hate it. But that said, I mean, they are a necessary evil, especially at gigs. But usually things are behind me, so I'm not so bad. But when you're plugging your guitar into your pedal board, the guitar cable is now in front of you.
Yeah. So that's always been a thorn in my side. Yeah. I'm using this for demos because, frankly, it sounds as good as my cables.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, sound off in the comments for the videos I'm doing. But in reality, like, this is good enough that you can get an idea of what's going through it. In fact, I think it actually sounds better than some of my cables. So yes, it's not going to be identical high end,
right?
But if you're running a buffer, you're not going to be able to tell anyway. So don't worry about it. I don't know. I think it's a worthy purchase. It's only, I think it were $180.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. And I think that if you're somebody like me who likes to play a lot of different guitars, this is really convenient. Right. And I mean, literally, I can go from my Helix to my Mesa Boogie by just unplugging the plug and plugging into the other one like a regular cable. And it's just thoughtless. I mean, I don't have to worry about, because it used to be like that when you had the box systems, you had to worry about input gain, output gain, all that stuff to make sure you were trying to like match your levels and everything. Yep. You don't have to worry about any of that. It just takes care of it for you. So I know it's a little hotter. The signal that comes out of there is definitely a little bit hotter, but it's not like more than a dB. I mean, it's minimal. So
right.
Anyway, so if you're interested, they're worth buying.
Yeah.
So
I've been thinking about that set, but I've been thinking I want to find one that I like for gigging. But to be honest with you, I stick to my Shure every time. I just put it on my belt.
See, this is the thing. If I was gigging, I would have bought a Shure GLX.
Yeah, that's what I
would not have thought twice about it. And actually, I was having a conversation with my Sweetwater rep, and he was telling me that the tuner on it's great. He's like, you don't need a Boss TU3 if you have it. Like, it's that good. It's really, really good. So
yeah, I just like clocks. I have too many of tuners, but I have a TU3.
Yeah, I don't know how many tuners I have now at this point either. And at some point, I would be fun to like go and see how different they are. Tune up your guitar and then switch tuners and then see if it, which one's more accurate.
Okay, so later tonight we're going to talk about fun with pedals, but before I get to that,
no such thing, Jim. Pedals aren't fun.
So Stephen Conradi, did I say that correctly? I hope.
I don't know. It's just Stephen, that guy that's in the group.
Yeah. Anyway, he posted that he was asking about recording, and he was very specific. But I want to talk general. I want to talk about general because even though he pretty much went on for like 15 minutes in this video, one of the only thing he didn't tell us was what the hell is he going to use the recording? And so I responded to him because I don't want people to think I'm a jerk. And
your audience.
But and he had messaged me, and that's why he mentioned me in the video. And he said, hey, I'm trying to do recording. And I asked him, I said, what's your rig look like? And he showed me. And I said, why do you have a tuner at the end of your pedal chain? Why isn't it in the front of the pedal chain? And I guess he uses it to mute his pedal chain when his fuzz is on. If you're doing that, you're doing something wrong, because you do know you can turn that fuzz off, right? As easily as you could turn the tuner on. But anyway.
There are other reasons to put the tuner at the end of your chain. We'll get into that.
Yeah. And some people do that. And I respect that. I just asked him because I knew that there were a lot of reasons. Anyway, so he asked me about recording, and I said, well, what are you running into? And he told me, and I said, just run into it. Because he told me he was using the software in a 6 months. I said, just run into GarageBand. But I made the assumption that he had an iPad or an iPhone, and that's a bad assumption on my part. I did not ask that question, because then he mentioned in the video, maybe I'll buy an inexpensive iPad. Oh, that's not what I meant. I just meant find something that's easy. And so I just want to say this. So when you're recording, there's different reasons. Obviously, like you and I, when we're recording a video to put up on YouTube, we do our best to do the best sound we can, right? We're trying to put the signal chain together so that it doesn't, because you've seen those old videos. You only have to look back 3 or 4 years, and you've seen, and some people still do it. You see his videos.
You can look back at our old videos.
Sets a phone up. Yeah, sets a phone up, and that's what they've got for sound too, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the phone is fine for video nowadays. If you've got a reasonably new phone, that's fine. But
but it's just not going to give you the audio quality. And so you do have to learn how to sync up your video and audio. And a lot of people, they don't know how to do that, or they don't have the software that can do it. But anyway, if you're recording a video or an audio because you're trying to get an idea down, just pull out your phone. What I do, if I'm trying to get an idea down that came to me in my head, is, believe it or not, even though I'm a cover musician, I do like to come up with ideas that I'll use later. I set the phone up, and then I just set it in video mode in portrait so that I can look at it. And then I play it, but I'm like, because I want to know where my fingers are in the fretboard, right?
Right.
And that, to me, is what's important. And so I'm not worried about, is my tone right? So I sent him a little message. I said, if you ever listen to Ray, when Roger Waters brought Money, Pink Floyd, if they had based the fact that they were going to make, gazillion dollars on Money on that demo, they would have said, no, that sucks. This song blows.
Yeah.
They knew, they can see the
vision.
Song.
Right. Plus, that was also back then, that was the way demos were done. Right. Even nowadays, they expect a higher level quality of demo than that.
Well, okay, but it depends on what your demo is for. Is it for you to
if you're just passing it around to your song, team, like your band members or whatever, and you just want to give them the ideas, like it's an acceptable substitute for sitting down and playing the song for them.
Absolutely. And that's what I was getting at, is what is the purpose of your demo for you? If you're just trying to remember, I come up with an idea. I'm in the shower, right? Literally in the shower. I'm like, but I'm listening to, I'll listen to backing tracks because, and I'm going to get to that. There's a reason for that. Listen to the backing tracks, and I'll go, what would sound cool over that? And so I literally yell out to my phone. My phone is not Siri.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Bixby. But I yell out to my phone, hey, Bixby, record. And I start recording my voice. And
Did your phone just respond to you just now?
No.
Can we talk about how bad your text-to-speech is?
I don't call it Bixby, and yes, my speech is horrible. I called my phone by a name that you would not use in front of your grandmother, and I'm definitely not in front of kids. And my speech thing is terrible. But what I do is I'll just start humming it. So later I can listen to it back, and it sounds like this because I'm in the shower sometimes. It's going.
With this guy going in the background.
Sometimes I'm like, what the f was I thinking? But anyway, so
those are the nights where you're drunk.
Yeah. We do that very often.
Yeah, you're like, I made a hit album in the shower last night. It's a call back to a previous episode.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So so I'll do that. I'll come up with an idea, and I just hum it into my phone. Now, where I got that, believe it or not, was David Gilmour, and he would talk about how he would use his cell phone as his on-the-spot video recorder, sound recorder.
I've done that before too. Yeah,
I'm sure everybody does. So if the purpose is to share it with yourself, to remember, oh, I got to get this. I got to get this down.
Yeah, I mean,
lyric idea, or I've got this.
Yeah, your phone's perfect for that.
Yeah, why would you go and plug in all this shit and worry about your tone unless it's your tone that you want to remember?
Yeah, that's.
But at that point, you were searching for tone. You probably found it and you had it set up. Now, you should have a way. That's why I love the Amp One. That's why I like the 100-watt Katana. I can just plug in that record out, and I go clink, 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 clink. That's what I was doing, and then there it is. There's my tone, and I can take a picture of the pedal chain, and then believe it or not, I attach those things together, and that as files. So same file name. One is a video or a picture, and one is the actual audio of what I was doing.
I found, but especially lately, video works way better for recording stuff I would need to remember. And it's only because, like, sometimes I'll record something and then I'll have to like fumble through how I did it, and I'll come up with some sort of alternate fingering, and it's like I don't remember playing it this way, but
yeah, and it's cool, right?
Sometimes it's harder.
Yeah, sometimes you go back and what the heck was
how the hell did I do this the first time? Like, what
was I thinking?
I mean, I don't have that many moments where like I play something that's harder than what I would normally play, but I have had them. So
a lot of times I've had them because I was following tablature.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, why did that person play that there?
I find myself more and more deviating from playing like things the way they were originally played. And I think it's more or less because like there's a much better way to do this.
Yeah.
And really, you think that this part was super important, that you had this one note ringing open, but really it just makes it sound like ass. And so I don't like it that way. I'm just not going to do it. I think it's a grumpy old man syndrome for me.
Well, we've talked about this on the show before. And the fact is that just because it was done that way on the record doesn't mean that, number one, it translates well live. Or number two, that it wasn't actually multiple takes put together. A lot of very famous solos are multiple takes. We talked about that before. I don't want to go into but the fact is that sometimes you got to think about what is going to be better live. What's going to sound better in a band situation live, right?
It's perfectly, I want to point out, if you have the right hardware, it's perfectly okay and acceptable and possible to get quality recordings out of an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device of any type. And I mean, obviously, everybody's doing things in the box now with PC recording or Mac recording, but you don't really have to approach it that way. I mean, I've heard decent quality recordings that were captured on cassette tapes, the old Fostech, Fostech's 8-track recorders and stuff.
Well, so for iPhones and iPads, they make incredible interfaces.
Yeah.
And you get GarageBand. I think you have to pay for it now, right? For iPad.
No, GarageBand's still free.
Is it still free? I have it on my
iPad.
And I got it back when it was free. But I know that somebody talked about they were going to.
There's packs available for it.
There you go. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But you get the basic interface. They're like $50, $100, I think, in the high-end ones.
What, for the interfaces?
Yeah.
No, you can go. So let me tell you, the iRig, the cheapie, is garbage. You can get the iRig Pro. It's like $99. I have one. They're decent.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go super crazy, the Apollo is available for the freaking iPhone.
Yeah, but the Apollo is like $500 or something.
Yeah, but you can also use it for your computer too. So.
The exact same thing will work in your computer. And the Apollo is an awesome machine. Don't think I'm talking down about the Apollo. I'm just saying, if you're looking for something quick, easy to turn on, boom, you go to your iPad, you use an iRig connection, and you just go.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we're getting at here is that there are devices for every need. So if you really want to do, if you're going to track vocals with it, you can do that with, the Apollo or something like that. If you just want to track something that you're just taking notes on, track it with something cheap, something convenient. I just found the iRig to be extremely noisy.
I'm not a fan of the iRig, but
there are other products that are available. So
right, there's another company that makes a similar product.
Apogee.
Thank you. That is about $100.
Yeah, and the Apogee, that's the Apogee Jam, and they make the Apogee Jam Duet.
Yep.
PreSonus actually has a line of interfaces that work for both computer and iPads as well. So again, just whoever you want. I mean, like, go look around. Everybody's got a product that does it now. So
that's right. I think Focusrite makes one that's interface for iPads, iPhones, with the Lightning cable. So it's important. Do what you can. There are mixing boards. We use a mixing board. It has an iPad interface. I can literally bring up GarageBand now during practice. Now it's GarageBand, boom, record the practice.
Yeah, I was going to ask, Jim. So you're using that you're starting to rely on technology to fuel like simple things like your mixer. Don't you have any concern about like being future hit where of
course
they change the device and now it no longer works? Of
course. I worry more. Yeah, the Lightning cable, there's talk that the Lightning cable is going to go away already. But they always,
I would highly doubt that. I will highly doubt that.
Yeah.
That rumor, that is the European Union iPhone that they're probably working on, because they've been sued multiple times in the European Union and lost multiple times because they have locked people into their own connection standard.
Yeah.
So they got in trouble for the dock for the same reason.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, so that moves on to the next thing I want to talk about. So have you ever been, this is what I wrote down. So people, there's also pen and paper, by the way, for lyrics. Ever played a lick or a riff while you're improvising that turned into something you've heard before?
Yes.
Just can't remember what it is. So
yes,
that will go into my next thing. That I don't
literally all the time. Today I was playing around, and you can ask my wife. I started to play one of the songs from Ocarina of Time.
See.
So, and she's like, and I'm like, no, I'm not playing the whole thing. Like, that's not going to happen. So yes, it happens to all of us.
I was playing a riff like that. I went, I don't know what this is, but I really like it, and I know I've heard it before, but I had no idea what it was.
I learned to play the X-Files theme song that way.
There you go.
It just happened.
It's like, whoa, what the is this?
That one was beamed down from the spaceship above my house directly into my brain, and I just started playing it, and it just happened.
Well, I was playing something completely different, obviously. And then all of a sudden, I went, you know what would sound nice? This. And I started playing it. It was what came into my head, and I started playing it, and then I was playing it over and over. I said, this really sounds good. And I was like, oh, shit. I know I've heard this before.
Dude, well, I have had that problem so many times with, like, you'll be recording something and you'll be like, this is the coolest song ever. And then like 2 minutes later, you hear it on the radio and you're like, God damn it. You know what that happened to me? And I'm not embarrassed to admit this. I was writing this tune. It was like a blues funk thing. And my wife goes, that's Who Did You Think I Was from John Mayer. And I was like, oh, fuck. And it was like so similar. I was like, it wasn't exact, but it was like, God damn it, I can't use this. It's the same fucking chords.
You know what stinks is that I know how much of a John Mayer fan you are.
Yeah. Now you know why. And that's the one song where he tries to out Stevie Ray, which is hilarious.
So, yeah. That kind of goes into my next thing, but I want to kind of blend these two things together. So the other night, I'm obviously in cover bands. So when you're improvising in a cover band, so I was improvising. We were playing the Cardigans. Of all things, it was the Cardigans, my favorite game. And at the end of it, I'm playing the fuzz, right? I'm playing the EHX. They're the big muff.
The muff.
Big muff. Loving that thing. And
they should ban that from reverb, by the way. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, well, you know that the muff was named after. They thought that the sound was being muffled. Oh, it's muffled.
Yeah, sure they did.
Oh,
that's why they made a version called the Big Muff Pie. Yeah, that's bullshit. That is complete bullshit.
The thing. Hey, pie is a letter.
Dude, the innuendo is high with this one.
I'm just
almost
saying,
as high as Mike Matthews was when he named it.
We're gonna get to the end of that one. Yeah, at least he was very honest.
He switched from weed and acid to cigars a long time ago.
During the documentary, I laughed my butt off.
Oh yeah, dude, he's like Dr. Wiley. That's all I can think of when I see him. If you know Mega Man, like if you don't know Mega Man, just Google a picture of Dr. Wiley and then find a picture of Mike Matthews and compare them. They're the same. If they were going to make a Mega Man movie, that's who they should cast.
Yes, definitely, Mike Matthews. So anyway, I've got the Big Muff on, and then I turned on my slash wah pedal, and I went to solo, and I just started wah soloing, and all of a sudden I was like, everybody in the band was like looking at me, and they were like, "Don't stop, don't stop!" And I kept going, and you know what sucks? It was great. I probably could never do it again.
I've had that happen.
It was like when I was in high school.
Was anybody recording that?
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm really short, and I was not a good basketball player. I was on some basketball thing in high school, and I threw a full court swish. I threw it, and that thing went over. Everybody was looking. It was the buzzer thing. It was
like Kim Jong's hole-in-one.
Yeah, it was a Disney movie moment.
No, it's 8 hole-in-ones or whatever.
Yeah, I went, and that thing went right in, and my cousin picked me up. The team was like, oh, and my cousin picked me up. He goes, I don't know what 8-foot Martian just jumped into your body and made that shot. You can't even make a basket from 5 feet, much less across the thing.
8-foot Martian. Are we talking about Toast Nabasi? No, never mind.
Yeah. But honestly, I couldn't do it again if my life depended on it. And of course, back then they weren't videotaping. But it was pretty cool. But anyway, the point is that you want to video yourself, you want to record yourself, you want to, when you're improvising and you're feeling it. Do you care what your tone is when you're improvising? I mean, yeah, I'll step on pedals, but I know that. Oh, you know what? I want to get a crunch here. I want to saturate here. So, tell me about when you're improvising. How important, or what does tone do for you? What do your equipment do for you when you're doing that in that moment?
For me, so I approach it totally differently. Like when I improvise, and I improvise a lot, but basically I would say probably 85% of the time when I'm playing guitar, I'm making it up as I go. Yeah. And I just do a lot of free time playing and stuff around the house and that kind of thing. I would say if I have something consistent with what I normally use, then I'm in good shape. And that's because I can be dynamic with it. I can back off on my picking attack and those kinds of things to control what I'm doing. I would also say that having the ability to kick things up a notch is nice because you can use that to build like a story within your improvised solo. We've talked about improvising on the show before. I've been trying to take more of an approach where it's like mapped out, where I have in my mind like how I'm going to do it. Not so much like what I'm going to play, but like what I'm going to do is like I'll have a quiet part, and then I'll have a faster part, and then I'll have a repetitive lead line, like kind of do the same a pattern, and then move it into different keys or whatever, and then I'll do a loud part at the end, and then a slide out, and then I'm back into the whatever riff or whatever. And that's kind of like the way that I approach it in my head. And so once I have that in line, I just need the tools to do the job. I am inspired if my sound is good, and I really try to separate things into good and bad. Like if it's bad, it means that notes are choking. Like I don't, and you can tell immediately because I'm not feeling it, and I'm just like going through the motions. So that's basically what it is.
Okay, so yeah, so we've got a similar, I think, take on that. So when I go to improvise, and I play a lot of people who think, oh, you're a cover band, you don't improvise that. Oh, you have got no idea. You take the song Paris.
Go look at a fake book. Tell me where the solos are at.
Right, or Tush, the end solo of Tush. Nobody ever plays just the 4 seconds of that. They play for minutes. and I could go on. Point is, or like I said, it's like the Cardigans thing. There is the solo. Here's a 2-note solo in there. I do a whole thing over where they play 2 notes. So you've got to have, and that's one of the things. That's one of the videos I want to get into is how I do that, how I think about it. So obviously I know the key, right, and I know what mode, or at least where I'm going to go in that key, right? I know it's a 1-4-5. Any lead guitar player who when I say, hey, what's the chord progression on your solo, and they say I don't know, I'm like,
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong.
You don't necessarily have to play with the chords, but you should at least know kind of what's going on there, so you can think about it in your head.
Exactly.
You mean you know what, Jim? It's perfectly acceptable if they don't know the chord names, but as long as they know it,
Right, like I'm doing like a E to A or something like that. Soloing over B. I have no idea. That's it. But anyway, so I'll do a similar thing. Like I'll take let's say a riff, right? I'll take a riff that I'll go back and I'll repeat because I'll use that as my starting point, just like a vocal. A vocal works if you repeat a part. They call that the hook, right? So you repeat a part, then you do something different, but you come back to that. You can call response, call whatever. So what I'll do is I'll find a part that I want to repeat, but I won't repeat it the same way twice, right? Mm-hmm. I may bend into a note, I may slide into a note, I may do whatever to get into that place. And if I do repeat it the same way twice, it won't have like if you recorded it and put it over top of each other, they will not line up. There's no way they would ever line up. Any way, shape, or form. I may bend a little more. I may make something last longer. I may leave a note out. I may put an extra note in. I may slide around. I may do whatever, right?
Right.
And what I was getting at is, for me, tone gives me just like my voice. I'll give an example. A lot of times I'll go in and they'll say, "Oh, we're going to do this song," and I'll do it like this. I go like Journey. I'll go, "Breathe for thee, I feel breathe for thee," and of course I'm like, yeah, James Hetfield is singing, Journey, and I'll just take something up. That's the same thing I'm thinking when I'm playing my guitar. It's what do I hear in my head vocally? How could I, if I was to sing this or hum it, how would I want that to happen? Would I be using? That's the beauty of a wah pedal. Would I be using a lot of really open mouth, or would I be really nasally? That's that's different.
Yeah, there's different ways to approach it. Sure. I would say my approach is more geared on like using phrases that I kind of know, and then also like making up phrases on the spot. And I think that a lot of time guides me in the direction I want to go. But I'm very much directed by what the music's doing around me. So that's a big part of it.
I think that's a huge thing. So you'll get people who will post like, you'll see, "Oh, I'm soloing over a B minor track." Okay. And it just sounds like a lot of notes. And it's like, okay,
like me.
No, I don't mean no.
No, I wasn't saying that at all, Jim. I'm saying I have a propensity for doing that.
Okay, well, what I was saying is that it sounds like a lot of notes in that. I don't want the people who go, "Well, Jim, you don't like shredding and blah, blah, blah." No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, it just sounds like
it's just a flurry of random notes in the key.
Right. It sounds like when Steve Martin says "Moo Moo Dogface Banana Patch."
Yeah, it's basically the musical equivalent.
Right. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just a bunch of words that, "Juvie de soir, juvie de soir." I asked for a shoe with cheese on it. Asked for I like a shoe with cheese on it. Force it down my throat. And I'd like to massage your grandmother. I mean, that's from a Steve Martin stand-up thing. People have a sense of humor.
I have to say, if it wasn't for my force, I wouldn't have spent that year in college. Moving on.
That's right. Exactly. And so, from people who have never owned the Steve Martin comedy album back when we did, or they had comedy albums. His albums were funny as I'll get out. And I Have Wild and Crazy Guy. I listen to that all the time. So anyway, what I was getting at is when you do that, when you solo, you should have something musically to say. I think I've said that before. Is that if I don't have anything musically to say, I don't want to solo. I just
Right.
It's just like if you're in a meeting and somebody says, "Hey, do you have any questions?" Jim, do you have any questions? No, I don't have any.
Yeah. No, we don't do that at our work. You know what we do where I work? We just all keep our mouths shut. Are there any questions? That's basically what happens.
Yeah.
And then it goes on for like a good minute or two. And as the silence is deafening, everybody's closing their notebooks and stuff and getting ready to walk out, you know?
And then the person goes, "Well, I just want to bring up one more thing."
Yeah, usually there's somebody like 3 or 4 minutes in that's like, "Well, I do have a question," you know?
Yeah. I didn't want to ask it 3 minutes ago when I was.
Who's got the bathroom key? No.
Where did they put why did they paint that? You got to love that one when the person and that's the thing. That's the musical equivalent of or the musical equivalent of why did you paint that door blue? This meeting, this song had nothing to do with the color of that door, but you're bringing it up.
Right. Right.
And I don't know. So when it comes to improvising, let's say you're going to improvise over a cover. Somebody said to you, "Hey man, we're going to play Purple Haze." Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get all the way through this. Somebody says to me, like, let's say we play Purple Haze. We're together, right? "Hey man, let's play Purple Haze." And you go, "Okay, Jim, you take a solo first. Nick, you take a solo, then I'm going to take it." Right? And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to sing these parts, do it, sing. Right? So here's my question to you. Comes your turn to solo. What are you going to do?
Probably what they ask me to do. Now, if I'm playing it, I will probably. It depends on how the conversation went ahead of time, but I would probably go for the more laid back approach. Although that's usually better for the second solo. The first one you want to kind of like echo the melody, and that's kind of where I would try to go with it.
Yep. I would probably play the vocal.
Yeah, I at least closely enough. I might try to comp some of the licks from the original solo. Yeah, because I know a lot of them. So, and
obviously the guitar has a wider range of octaves than the human voice, so you can play in a place that the human voice wouldn't be. But you're going to kind of get that melodic thing. You're going to serve the song, right?
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this: you're the second person that's going to take the solo. So somebody comes in and says, "Yeah, hey."
Then I would try to take it down a notch or 3 notches. And that's when I would like dial back my guitar and try to slow the whole band down a little bit, a couple beats per minute, and just try to get like something that's more rhythmic, but cleaner and like more melodic, something that not you would expect to hear in Purple Haze, basically. There's such a song, it's like such a sonic assault that, yeah.
Yep. And then let's say you're last.
That's when you come out balls to the wall and just, tear it up. Like whatever way you're comfortable doing it. Right. That means, hot blues licks in your Guy Fieri flaming shirt. Like go for it.
I literally own those.
I'm sure you probably do, Jim. Are they for bowling?
No, they're for
Jim, would you like to comment on your clothing, your apparel for this evening? I do. Jim's got to catch them all.
Got to catch them all. Pokemon Go.
He's got a Pokemon Go shirt.
And I'm on the blue team, folks.
He's Team Blue.
I don't even
Blue
know.
Team Go. Blue Team Go.
I have no idea what it's called. I just know it's blue. I like color blue. It's like you want to be red, yellow, or blue. All right. So, So you have a similar thing for me. So, or to me. So I would play something melodic, probably something close to the original first. Keep people involved.
Yeah.
Second time, like you said, I would bring it back. I dial it back a bit, and it would be for the dynamic of what I knew was coming.
Right. So you try to build it towards the end a little bit, maybe get back more into the game thing, and then like that's when you hand it off to the other guy who's got the fuzz pedal on full and big roaring stack, and he's ready to go. He puts he has the Bigfoot wah pedal ready, and you're like looking over him, you're like, yeah, you ready for that?
I'm going to step on this thing, and I'm going to.
There's the gas pedal.
Off. Yep. And I think that now, of course, every song, and we talk about serving the song. Okay, you hear that a lot when somebody says, "When you solo, what are you doing?" I'm serving the song.
I'm serving the audience.
Right. What does that mean to you? What does it mean when somebody says serving the song? What does that mean?
So for me, it means that because we've talked about this before. I believe that music is a form of communication, as much as it is an art form, which is a reference to Living Color. But anyway, I believe it's a means of communication first and foremost. And so for me, it's like, how do I support that message? And then secondly, it is how do I engage the audience? And the audience doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's standing in the room with me. It can be someone who's listening to it via recording. So that's the way I think about it. It's like, how do I do both of these things? And it's a juggling act sometimes because, I mean, like if I'm playing Heroes from David Bowie, obviously I could wow the audience, but not deliver on the song. So
right. And you would say, and I look at serving the song, quote unquote, serving the song in this way. Look at serving the song as a means to an end. I want the audience to like what I'm doing.
Right.
So I'm going to serve if it, your example of David Bowie was a good example. When somebody was saying in a video I listened to today, I thought that was really cool. That they said, yeah, when if I was playing, what's the name of the tune by David? It was Let's Dance. They were talking about
yeah, right.
Ray Vaughan. The person, when they didn't know it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, they said, how did David Bowie get Albert King to play on his record?
Yeah, which is funny because like Albert King and him are distinctly different, but yeah.
But the style of solo that he did was
yes and no. I think Albert King's nastier. Like when he does it, it sounds like that guitar is gonna cut you after it beats you at poker. Like so.
And that goes to tone. Thank you.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So if you're gonna play over, like I mentioned, my favorite game. If you listen, the song is really in your face, right? It's I'm using my favorite game. It's got that one low point. The rest of it is like a hard driving.
Yeah.
Very punk. You want it. Your tone should not be Stratocaster through a clean Fender.
Yeah, very much so. Don't do that. No. Okay, moving on.
And so, like, I dropped that the telly down a half step. Band loved that.
Flat tuning, yeah. I'll fatten it up significantly.
Fattened it up quite a bit. Really gave it a real punch. I can see why you wanted it.
Does my Kiesel count as a telly? Do I have a telly now?
I think so. Right? That's a T-style guitar.
It's a single cut.
Here's what I want to ask: what guitar stand or like?
They sell them. I have seen them already. They are like the ones you get in the store that hold the guitar like this.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm. String Swing makes them.
Yep, String Swing, and that's who. Speaking of String Swing, that's who. Music is Win. You see those in the background.
Yeah.
And Philip McKnight.
Yeah, that's because they're cheap. They're like $7.99, I think.
And he said they never had a problem.
Yeah, they're really good. They're high quality. I got two hanging up over here.
So when I redo this room, I might do something different because I'm going to paint this room, as I told you.
Yeah, so you got wired 2x4s than I did because I actually bought 2x4s, not thinking. I didn't measure the actual like width, and of course it's like 1 5/8 or something. And I'm like, damn it. So what? So there's a gap at the top and the bottom of my hangers. They still go in them, but
these things are a foot.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I should have done. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I wonder. I forgot to measure them, and I'm like, yeah, 2x4 should work.
I could literally stagger
2x3 1/4.
Well, I did that on purpose so I can stagger the guitars, as you can see on this side where I staggered them, so that I could put them closer together. Because there's a door. Yeah, you can see the door behind me. So
I just wanted to hang them on 14s. So
yeah. Well, anyway, so yeah, to serve the song, is to serve not only the audience, because they're obviously the audience is important. You want to serve yourself, you want to enjoy it. I think that's the balancing acts are in, am I serving the audience? Am I serving the song itself? Am I giving the song?
And am I bored?
Right. Am I bored out of my friggin' mind? If you're bored out of your mind, you're doing the wrong thing.
Then go play some animals as leaders. Good luck with that. Let me know how that goes for you.
Yeah. So Pete Thorne was talking about this. He was talking about being a musician in a band. He said there's 3 things you should get from it. And I kind of agreed with it. What he was saying was, number 1 is the money right. Right? If you don't care about the money, then the money is right if you're not making any money, right? So
yeah, Pete Thorne makes a lot of money, folks.
That's right.
Have you seen some of the amps that guy has?
Yeah. Well, he's got people who will go, oh, please, Pete, play my equipment.
Pete does now, but Pete had a lot of that stuff before that happened.
Oh, yeah. And he's got a nice house in LA. So
yeah.
He and Tim Pierce.
Yeah.
Two guys that, if you're gonna
they used to have a show together or something.
Yeah.
On YouTube. Yeah.
So anyway, is the money right? Is the I'm going to get to the last one because he mentioned this one and I was like, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. Money right? Is the music right? And is the hang right? In other words, do you hate the people?
I think more often than not, that's probably more important than the money in the other part.
A lot of times it's probably, we all go to jobs we hate. Why would you unless you do music for a living? And even then you
can hate it.
I don't want to hate the people I work with.
That's right. I try not to. They try really hard to make me. They do. Hope they're not listening.
But the music is, so there are so many musicians now who play. I've spoken to this before, professionally in churches.
Sure.
I'm seeing more and more of these musicians. Well, I'm not going to throw any of them.
No, and some of them are very talented.
Right, but they could care less about Christ's message.
Yeah, they're just there for the paycheck and like the fact that they can play music. I think so. These are not the guys you're going to find in P-dubs, right? Because the guys you're going to find in P-dubs are guys that actually are like looking for information about it. These are the guys that you will not find in P-dubs because that's the last thing they want to think about.
Yeah. To them, it is literally a job, paycheck. Yep. It's the same as the person that comes to mow the lawn.
I think it's a little more common in the South than it is up here because the South tends to have like more churches where they're willing to pay people to perform for them and stuff. Like, I just don't feel like it does happen in the Midwest, but I feel like it's not as much of a thing as it is down South.
Yeah, South, especially in the Southeast or Texas. I guess that's South.
Yeah, sure.
But there are people who literally, that is their job. They play churches. They play in circles because not every church has the same group of musicians every week.
I know I have heard of guys going from one service at like 6 a.m., packing their stuff up and literally carting it over to another service at 10 a.m. and then doing a noon service and maybe a Saturday noon service the night before.
Yep. And then they've got rehearsals, which are paid.
Yep.
If they're lucky enough to get like a worship leader or band leader position, that's paid.
They're not now. They may not be making huge money at it, but they got enough gigs and they're juggling enough things that they're paying their bills.
Right. That's what I was just going to say. They're paying their bills, and then the other thing, and I'm not putting that down. I ain't stretching.
No, sure. I mean, that's about. I don't like the fact that you don't believe in what you're doing, but I get it.
Right. Exactly. And then what a lot of them do to subsidize is obviously teach. So I was in Guitar Center a few weeks back. It was a friend of mine. He's not one of the people that plays in the church a lot, but he does do some church gigs. And I had noticed that he has to sit during the gigs, and I hadn't really gone up and talked to him in person in a while, and I saw how his leg was just looks like a there. And he said, "Yeah, there's something going on with the leg, all this operation."
Sure.
Anyway, he was talking about how he couldn't stand up, he could not play heavier guitars anymore, and that's I mentioned to him about your Kiesel. your just Kiesel discussion, not the one you just showed me.
Yeah.
Kiesel discussion. I said, if you look into Kiesel, because he was getting rid of a 70s Tobias or something. It was one of those guitar or those Les Paul copy things.
You can go to Kiesel and you can tell them you want the lightest weight guitar and get it. I think at the end of this episode, I should take 15 minutes and talk about the ordering experience over there.
Yeah, you should.
Because I have some criticisms and I have some comments, but they're not necessarily bad.
Yeah, so when you're improvising in a cover band, so the other night when I did it was the first time I improvised over the end of the Cardigan.
Okay.
I turned to the singer and I said, "How'd you like that? Was it something that you like?" And she said, "Yeah, I just want to know when you're going to come out, and I will always play this."
Yeah.
And I played a piece for her. She said, "Oh, I could get it for that." I said, "I'm literally counting 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I'm doing in the,
Yeah.
And she said, "That's awesome."
Yeah, we used the same kind of musical cues when I used to do the band thing. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's the how do you control it questions I had. So I'm glad you brought that up. So we want to talk about your Kiesel, then we want to talk about a thing about guitar culture.
You want to talk? We can do the Kiesel first. Or we can do the Kiesel at the end.
All right, let's talk about the guitar culture.
Yeah, I think we should do the Kiesel at the end. I agree. Okay.
All right. So let's talk about culture. So
I have none.
Yeah. Other than the fact that I'm uncultured, what do you call it? An old sailor.
You're a heathen. You're a heathen sailor.
Yes, I'm a loser. I want to talk to the group as a whole. So in my time, and I'm not saying that this was good or bad.
Don't worry, there's young man here too.
Right. In my time, when someone would decide to become a rock and roll musician, one of the reasons that they wanted to become a rocker was because of the sex. I'm going to come right out and say it. There was that thing, and it worked for me for a lot of years. I mean, I couldn't get a girl to look at me once or twice, and and when I was on stage, it was just a magical thing happened. That's not to say that I was a womanizer or a woman chaser. I'm just saying that it was a fact of happening. Now that said, I was married most of the time, so I didn't partake in it. And then when I was younger, I met my wife when I was 17, so I was dating. So a lot of that was just I appreciate it. I appreciate the fandom. I'm just not that person. So need to maybe go talk to the other guitar player, the drummer.
Yeah, but what you're getting at is that you know people who are that person.
Right, and I do know people that aren't that. And I do know people that were terrible human beings. I mean, just awful in a large sense. All that said, we see a shift in our culture, right? But I've been to plenty of shows where the culture's still relatively the same. And we've talked about women in music. Like I said, I was looking at the Lizzie Hale, Firebird, Firebird.
Right. And we support.
Yeah.
Music is not a thing reserved for men.
Right.
That's just not the way we are at all.
But I saw over the week, I saw Ann Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Ann Wilson, the singer. Ann Wilson was speaking about the this whole Me Too movement. And one of the things she said was, "You've noticed that there hasn't been a lot of Me Too movement in music. That it's still been what's the word? It's still been subdued." She said, "There are there are things that need to be said. They have not been being said."
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, look at the Ryan Adams thing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty telling. That's a guy that was not somebody that people thought was going to be involved in that, but
he is a loser, baby.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, we're not gonna name call. Read about it, make your own decision.
Exactly. And there's the R. Kelly thing. That's recent.
I was hoping we weren't going to talk about him.
I'm not gonna say anymore.
Dave Chappelle knew it was true. He knew 15 years ago.
Well, South Park called it too.
Yeah.
But South Park will call it anytime. If they get an inkling, if they get a whisper.
Yeah, they're the whistleblowers right there. Even if it's not true, like 10 years later, it could turn out to be not true, and South Park's still blowing the whistle.
Yeah. So, but what I want to get at is that. So recently, the whole thing with the pedal naming of satchels.
Yeah, somebody in Dan Kish posted in the group that Reverb is no longer selling the P melter, as we have so lovingly referred to it on this show in the past. Yeah. So Jim, go ahead.
But here's the thing. So he said they have banned it from online sale. Well, like they're banning it on their site. You can't ban it from being online.
Well, that's not. No, he understood that. Like,
yeah, I know. It's just the choice of wording was. Here's the thing. That we have to remember when we look at stuff. Online sites, whether it's Amazon, okay, or
they're a third party brokerage in a lot of cases.
They're a brokerage, and Walmart is doing the same thing. Walmart brokers stuff. They have the right to not list something, and that doesn't mean that you can't buy it because you're not going to buy it through Walmart.
Yeah, that's fine. They're saying we're not willing to sacrifice your integrity to sell this.
And a lot of people thought when I first said something that I was supporting I was opposing Reverb. No, I applaud Reverb, and I applaud Reverb in more than one way. Reverb has an opportunity to make money, right? I mean,
right.
These pedals go for a lot of money used, and Reverb is saying no, I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
And so Reverb is saying the money. I just talked about the money, the music, the hang. The money is not worth the hang. The people that I would be associated with, given the fact that I was going to sell this thing, is not worth the money that I'm going to make.
Yeah.
So I applaud them by standing on their morals. I wish more companies would stand on their morals and say, you know what, this is not.
Even if it's an unpopular opinion.
Right.
Yeah, even if you don't agree with them necessarily. And I have some comments about this too, but go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now, I don't want to take my political views and everything else. First of all, people know I don't vote, so don't worry. None of our elected officials are my fault.
You don't have to send Jim mail bombs or anything. Like, it's cool.
You keep going to the polls and voting these morons into office, and I'll just keep laughing behind your back. But that's beside the point. I know my vote is a whisper in the wind. And you'll say, well, it's important still that you get your voice heard.
No, I have no voice. I live in a state that is controlled by one party.
Right. And same here. I live in southeastern Virginia. The local people are voted in. Everything is one way, and it wouldn't matter if I agreed or disagreed with them. And I'm not going to say whether I do or don't. I don't care. I just don't care.
You don't really have a choice. You have the illusion of choice.
It doesn't matter whether female, male, what the race, creed, color, background. I don't care if they're human or alien. It doesn't matter. You could vote a couch into office. They will get the same crap done as the last person.
I have not voted.
I haven't voted in 20 years.
For an elected president that I like in my entire voting career.
Yeah.
So let's just put that in perspective. Since we're talking about this, Jim and I had this conversation a while back.
Yeah.
If you're going to give Jim crap for not voting, listen, just understand that there's literally been no political candidate that I liked. I'm not saying I didn't vote or vote for them, but that I felt was really the guy for the job. That's sad.
Yeah, I just don't vote. It began with when I was in the Navy. We had to do what do you call it, voting, because you weren't there.
Yeah, and you do the absentee, and then it never gets counted because you're in the military.
It doesn't count.
That's the one group that should be counted.
It doesn't count.
They're putting their lives on the line, and the commander-in-chief is going to be the one that kills them. They don't have a say in it.
That's right. The only time an absentee ballot counts, and I did not know this until years later, I was like, why am I even wasting my time? The only time an acetate pellet counts is if there's a tie, and they do a recount, which is really rare.
And even then, it has to be on a certain time scale. It's like military votes didn't get counted in the Florida counts for Gore versus Bush.
So you have hundreds of thousands of people whose votes don't count.
All right, enough politics. Let's move on.
So anyway, my point is the guitar culture has changed. Whether it's changed in one person's opinion or another for the better or worse, the fact is that it's because culture changed.
Yeah. And it's still changing. And culture is going to evolve. That's an inevitability.
Right. And we have to evolve with it. Everybody has to evolve with culture. But the thing is that when people jump up and down and yell at reverb is just being this or this one's just being that, just remember that they're a business and they have to
they're doing what they feel is right for their business. Whether it's right or wrong is history's decision, really. But like, for example, if you ever take an ethics course, they'll tell you that Martin Luther King was unethical because he was doing something counter to what the rest of the populace was doing at that time. That's one way of looking at ethics. That's not like the only way. But the point is that history determines a lot of whether what we're doing is good or bad. So can I take over?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to jump in now. So I agree to a point with, yes, there's certainly an era of culture amongst guitar players in the guitar community. And they're kind of like a subterfuge, I think, because a lot of these guys don't participate in the internet, or if they do, they're in like very specific places. There are still a lot of dudes out there that are completely beholden to the anti-feminist ideal that women's places in the kitchen making a sandwich. I mean,
but that's not just the guitar culture.
No, it's not just guitar culture. It's a significant portion of the population, period. And I think the guitar culture is representative of the population as a whole, for the most part. For the most part, I would definitely say that I think we find a lot more liberal people in liberal arts, and so that's part of it too. But my point is that there are these people that are holding on to these ideals. We are the most traditionalist musicians on earth. I mean, come on, we're still using vacuum tube technology, folks. Like, as much as every other, maybe they have a vacuum tube somewhere in their rig, but like every other musician, like if they do, it's very minimal. Horn players, they don't use vacuum tubes. Like singers, they might use a tube mic pre in the studio. It's not, it's just not, it's not that common a thing. So I think the esotericism applies here significantly. And I think that the younger generation, I would say the people that are probably, I want to say like 35 and under, so I fall into that generation, are definitely more feminist for the most part. You're still going to find your holdouts, your people that were raised wrong and whatnot that exist within the culture. But for the most part, at least on the internet, they're going to do a pretty good job of rooting those people out, at least to the groups that I frequent. There are a couple of other groups that I'm a member of where I see things said that I'm just like shake my head and I'm like, this is like the backwoods on the internet. Like, what is going on here? It's a tire fire is what it is. And my position on these pedals, look, I don't care that Reverb banned them. Honestly, that's their prerogative. They're within their rights to do so. The thing that I said was like, okay, so fine. You want to make a stand for women? Like, women are asking you not to sell this pedal, and so you decided to take it down or whatever and not list it because it violates your terms of service and whatnot. That's, I guess, okay, but I think it would be better if they said, okay, we're going to censor the photographs, or we're going to ask that people self-censor the photographs. If they don't, we'll take their listing down. Because I'll tell you, Reverb monitors every single communication that goes across their network. I can tell you that because I have been caught in communication with people at Reverb who are trying to scam Reverb out of money. Not me, but the other party is trying to scam Reverb out of money. And so, and I've actually gotten people caught because of that. So they do monitor communication. They do review photographs and things like that. So it would be very possible for them to say, okay, so here's a P melter, right? We're going to censor the photograph. We're going to add $10 to anybody who buys it. And that $10 is going to go to a women's shelter, or it's going to go to, Equality in the Workplace Foundation or something like that. I think that would be a much better way to handle this than to take the pedal down. And it's a win-win for everybody.
I want to stress something. As much as guitar gear permeates our daily life,
no one outside of our community knows about this.
Nobody.
And probably a fraction of the people within our community know about this.
I honestly, and exactly. And it would not even have come on most people's radars had somebody not mentioned it in a rant or rave.
If I went into the Mesa Boogie group, and I use them because they're the most layman group I'm a member of, the Mesa Boogie fan club or whatever on Facebook, and I dropped a picture of the P Melter, like, who's got one of these? People are going to ask me, what the hell is that?
And then they're going to say, why? Why would I want that? There'd be so
that group would be like, oh, that's funny, like that. They're those kind of guys. That's
my
fine.
point
like,
is this: we banning that all that. I'm not saying that things should exist. Please don't take this wrong, because most people, somebody in the group took it wrong. Yeah, I don't think you understand. So I'm going to try to get this. I'm not saying that something that exists that is wrong should exist or should be, outed.
we're not censoring anything.
Right.
We don't want to censor things.
Right. As soon as we censor things, so there are things out there we all hate. I'm not going to bring any of them up, but that are hated for good reason. Yet they still exist and they're not censored, and they go on.
Mein Kampf.
Yeah. So
I mean,
the KKK, things like that. Those things are out there. They're real, but if you don't bring attention to them,
guess what? They lose power. They lose their power, and that's what my wife was saying. She's like, I don't understand the feminist movement right now because they're the ones that are screaming for this stuff to happen. But on the same token, she's like, that's not feminist. A true feminist would just shake their head and be like, this is stupid. Why would I even pay attention to this? And why would I draw attention to it?
Right. That's what I was getting at. So now this pedal, actually toe print in the beginning, wouldn't have got any attention.
It had zero traction. They blew it up. So now it's everywhere.
It had been around for a long time, my understanding is, before it got this attention, by somebody who said, oh my God, I'm pissed off because this thing exists.
Yes. And that's exactly what I'm getting at, though, is like they blew it up by saying ban it. So then Satchel's like, now I'm going to capitalize on this, and I'm going to use it as an advertising tactic for my parody band.
And now, thank you very much, he's getting money for that.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he's making way more money off that than he did for whatever money he paid TC Electronics to use his name for their patch. I mean, I can see that being $1,000 check. He's probably made $20,000 on the pedal deal. I mean, and now he's got this new one coming out, which is even more vulgar than the other one, the delay pedal, which I'm not even going to try to like make a PC version of that name.
No, but all I can say is that at that point, all you did was create a monster.
Yeah, now you've encouraged him because for what that band does, the whole point is the shock value. Like when you have a song called Asian Hookers, and if you haven't heard that song, it's not for the faint of heart, but go listen to it and you will understand why he does not care. He does not care what you think of the name of his pedal. He's acting a part.
And that's what I was trying to draw the thing to, was that no, you don't want to. You can't make it go.
Don't feed the troll.
Right. Can't make it go away, but don't tell kids they can't have it because they're going to want it. That kind of thing is what fuels fires that create bigger monsters than already existed. And what I was trying to say was this: that had people just said, you know what, it doesn't even exist. It's not even on anybody's radar. Who cares? Ever would have been an issue, and now it's huge. It's not like somebody was human trafficking.
No.
I had in the group go, well, slavery was. Oh, come on! Don't
not
the PM pedal with slavery.
It's not the same.
That is stupid.
It's not the same thing at all.
Oh yeah, somebody's out there shooting dogs in their backyard for fun. That's the same. No, it's not the same thing.
Believe me.
Get your head in the grass.
My wife. I'm going to be honest. Like I have a feminist who lives in my house with me, My wife is one of the most feminist people I've ever met in my life because she understands what feminism really is. And that is equality, not dominance, but equality. Right. And so that's where I'm getting at. Like, once you start censoring things, that's no longer equality. That's dominance. That's saying, I don't like what you're saying, so turn it off. You're commanding them to do something, and that you can't do that. You can command them to stop doing something to you,
right?
But you can't tell them to stop doing something. And in this case, we're talking about what is basically a troll. He's making money off the fact that he's offending people.
Off of being a troll.
And some people find being offended funny. So they get that, you heard the uncomfortable laughter thing. That's a big part of that. Right. So that's fine. Like, they can do their thing, whatever. My advice to anybody who really wants to further the feminist movement right now is to take the money that you would spend making phone calls, whatever your time is valuable, apply a dollar value to it, a reverb to get them to pull down a pedal. That, by the way, there are many, many, many offensive pedals to both men and women on reverb right now that aren't the P melter, like Big John's Hairy Balls, anything from Metasonics, literally anything from Metasonics. Just take a look at the iconography that appears on their stuff, and the Big Muff. I mean, yeah, Jim, we joke about the fact that, yes, it was because it was supposed to be a muffled fuzz sound. But the reality is we all know what that was really about. And the way he would swollen pickle, like all of these phallic and I don't know what the proper term is for the female gender, but basically anything that refers to genitals should probably be removed. By the logic they're using, that should all be offensive. That should offend everyone.
I said the same thing. And then Jason jumped in and said, but that one's empowering. I said, no, not empowering. Nobody sees it as empowering except for the people that want to see it. The same as the other one. Nobody sees it as a joke.
I don't think anybody analyzes this stuff that deeply.
No.
Okay? The only people analyzing this stuff that deeply are the people that actually, like, they want it to be there. They want it to stay there. They're not thinking about the surface level part of it, which is basically that this is offensive because it's using what is now considered to be a derogatory term for a woman's genitals on a pedal. It's not because the word melter is there. It's that has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with the fact that you've got a guy that has songs like Asian Hookers, and has made a career out of making these kind of silly, like, 80s metal excursions into crazy fantasies that never happened. And this dude is now producing pedals with this name on it, and people don't like it. Believe me, if Satchel had put out let's say Satchel wasn't Satchel, right? Whatever his real name is. Let's say he put out a pedal as himself, right? Or he did the tone patch for the TC Electronics. If they didn't know Steel Panther was behind that, I don't think that would have gotten pulled.
No.
I think it was because there was a case made that these people are misogynist because of their music, and obviously the tag for this delay effect is misogynist too because of who made it. So therefore, it needs to be taken down. Like, this is what gets me is we know that the parental advisory explicit lyrics thing that they used to put on records sold more records. Like, there were people actually targeting getting it because they knew that if they put that on their record, they were going to sell, X amount of copies more. So this is nothing more than that, except without the sticker.
That's right.
It's literally nothing more than that. And to hear people act like, well, this is some great victory for the feminist movement. No, it's not. It's not. If anything, I would say it's a defeat for free speech.
Right.
And that's kind of a mess. But I mean, I'm not saying I support the message. I sure don't. But at the same time, like, Reverb has the ability to do this, and so let them. I just want to put this out there in, like, the most, like, general. I'm not trying to get hate mail terms for everybody, but I wouldn't buy this pedal. I sure as hell wouldn't. But I also don't want to see it taken from the market either. Any way that I'd want to see any of those other pedals I mentioned, either the Big Muff, the Frantone Cream Puff, the Big John's Hairy Balls, the Metasonics. There was a pedal called a Small Beaver at one point. Like, none of those pedals I want to see taken from the market. I just don't want that. Like, that would be bad for business for everybody. We need that level of competition in the industry.
Yeah. I think that what we're trying to say is we respect and we definitely think that what Reverb did, they have the right to do, number one. And number two, they're standing on their morals, and I applaud that. Literally and figuratively, I applaud that.
Yay.
Yeah, yay. Howard went mild. Yay.
And the peasants rejoiced.
Yes. But what we're saying is that for people to go, it shouldn't be sold anywhere. It shouldn't have it. You're not going to win. You're not going to win because there's always somewhere that's going to sell it.
They'll sell it direct.
Well, they did.
I could see. Was that Kirk Hammett pedal company, KDHM or whatever it is, MDH or whatever. I could totally see that company like opening a little venue for you to resell your Steel Panther pedals just because Reverb shut them down. Like that's the kind of thought that would go into this.
Right. So what I did was I searched for the PM to see where I could buy it. Right. And there are people using the name on Reverb, or on eBay.
Yeah, to sell clones of the pedal.
Another pedal and saying it's not that pedal, but they're putting the name in there.
Well, and you know what? That whole thing is based around the idea that, okay, so we're going to put this pedal out there, and this is an exact clone, so you can play it in church because the name is PC. But what I laughed about was the fact...
It was called the cheese melter.
Yeah, if you looked at the eBay version of it, I just laughed because I'm like, this is a clone of a pedal that they already made. All they did was offer a different paint.
It was a clone, but it was it is the PM. I mean, it's just. Here's the thing that all I'm saying is, if you bring attention to something,
that's why I don't like to talk about this stuff on the show.
That isn't hurting anybody, then don't worry about it.
If you remember when the P Melter the whole controversy first brewed, Jim and I talked about it on the show, but we did it begrudgingly. And I was behind the scenes, I was openly saying, I don't want to draw attention to this. Right. Because we're feeding the troll. Like, that's fine. Right. But at the same time, it's like, I have to talk about it because it's important to the community that we all are on the same page, or at least have an understanding of why this thing exists. And also why we have to have stuff that's offensive. It happens. Life's offensive. I will do something probably by the end of this podcast that will in some way offend Jim. Jim will do something by the end of this podcast that will in some way offend me. But through that, we learn to get along.
The guitar that I'm buying.
You don't learn to get along if you kill everybody.
The guitar I'm buying will offend David.
Nothing. I don't even has a Dixie flag on it.
No, it does not. That
wouldn't offend me either because I understand the genesis behind that thing too.
Yeah, but I understand it. And
I understand it being offensive for others.
and that's the other thing. I mean, now if it was a freaking racist flag, then that's a completely different.
Yeah, thing. Like if Satchel's next pedal is the clan hood.
Yeah,
Which I could see something like that. I said it and then I thought about it and I was like, no, we're not going there.
Yeah, this pedal is OKKK. I mean, I don't,
my gosh.
That's not something people want.
No.
But the point is that it could exist, but that's hurtful. That's a difference. It's hurtful. And if it existed, but it was only sold like the people who wear white shirts.
I think that's a lot more hurtful than the P Melter is.
Yeah. Again, it is hurtful. Yeah. The P Melter was never meant to be hurtful.
I mean, if you're melting pea, then theoretically you actually appreciate that.
Right. Exactly.
The activity is different. Okay, we're talking about pseudo-romantic activities and pseudo-racism from a group that hung people and killed people in the South and did all sorts of horrible things. There's a big difference between the P Melter being offensive and the clan hood pedal being offensive. That's what I'm saying. Please, someone don't make a clan hood pedal.
No, but it goes to it speaks to. We talked about another pedal that you won't let me mention, but I'm not going to mention it. But it's another one.
The boomerang.
That has a name that is about female genitalia, but because a woman.
Right. We had a discussion about that, whether that is or isn't. It's the whole thing. We won't bring it up, but there is another pedal out there that is subtly referencing something, but I've been told that it really wasn't intended that way, but it really seems like it was. So we'll just leave it alone.
And as you said, the Big Muff Pie was also not. So right.
Right.
So, the point is that as musicians, we have to respect free speech. We don't have to like what somebody says. We don't have to bring attention to what somebody says. We don't need to support what somebody says. But and this is the hardest thing that people don't get. Just because the whole movement towards respecting other cultures does not mean you like everything every other
No,
culture.
absolutely not. It just means that you understand it.
Understand it and you respect them.
Yeah, you respect the boundary that you have with those people, and you let them do things. Hey, I was watching an episode of DS9 tonight, and it's completely relevant to this. There's an episode of DS9 where Commander Sisko's child is hanging out with the Ferengi, Nog, right?
Yep.
And they go on a double date. Okay, the Ferengi are notorious womanizers, and so he abuses his date basically and asks her to cut up his food and chew up his food for him and all this stuff. And of course, that ruins the date for both of them. And then they disavow their friendship. We're not going to be friends anymore because I don't like your culture. And then the moral of the episode is he sits down with Commander Sisko later at dinner, and Commander Sisko tells him, he says, look, this isn't a question of whether you guys can be friends or not. It's whether you guys can understand each other's culture and tolerate your differences. That's exactly it. So at the end of the episode, they actually make up, but it's like, look, I realize that some of the things that you do are absolutely disgusting, but I'm just going to respect your boundary. We won't double date, and that'll be that. And if there are other disgusting things I find out that go on in your culture, I will respect those, and I won't be a part of them.
Right.
And it's like, Is that really that hard to understand? And I watch this lesson, I go, why doesn't anybody else get this? Why don't they understand it?
Because for some reason, people think that because you don't like one thing, that you don't like them.
I don't like tomb screamers, but shit, I ain't telling people to stop using them.
Damn, you're Stevie Ray Vaughan, forever using one.
Multiple, two. Yeah. Two at once in some cases.
So that's our rant about the guitar culture.
Can we talk? All right, so now I'm going to eat some crow for. Now I'm going to eat some crow for a minute. So I got this lovely Kiesel sitting next to me. We talked about the top of the show, and that was only because I knew I could not carry on that gag the entire show. Like I was gonna poo-poo FedEx the whole show, and then get to the end and be like, "Yeah, so FedEx didn't actually screw up, but I couldn't bring myself to do it." So I want to talk about the Kiesel buying experience. I'm a member of the Kiesel Facebook group. Obviously, I got that invite to be Jeff Kiesel's fanboy or whatever, and I think I actually did end up accepting it. I was skeptical of the build process from day one. I have gone through the Chinese build thing. You can hear about that in Red Unicorn or earlier episodes. So this is actually kind of a direct comparison. The whole idea was that I can order from a Chinese shop and basically get something that's similar to what I want and, upgrade it as needed to make a workable guitar. As we did last year. This year I went the other way and I said, okay, so what happens if I spend more money? In this case, I spent about $1,600. What do I get for my money? Right? And what the buying experience is like and who the people at Kiesel are like and all that. So obviously on the show before I mentioned Jeff Kiesel is a jack. He's a jack wagon. I'm not going to swear. I'll be nice. He's a jack wagon. He's not an individual I would love to, hang around with. I can have a beer with him. I could, sit and talk with him, but not somebody that I would identify with at all. Anyway, so I start investigating this, right? And I start asking around, like, have you played any of the new Kiesel headless guitars? Various people told me, like, yeah, I've had good experiences with them. Like, I've seen one, etc. So I said, all right, fine. I went and I contacted a couple other private builders. I got some quotes. And it ended up being, came down to strictly 7 guitars, which I've heard that there have been various scandals with that company and ownership and more, and Kiesel. And Jim, I'm gonna ask you, what is your impression of Kiesel before walking into this? Like, what do you know about him? And I could use that as a springboard.
Well, I mean, obviously, I come from the Carvin days into Kiesel, and my impression has always been that he's a bit of a used car salesman. But that said, that I think there's a lot of good people working there. I think there's a lot of probably awesome people working there. They have obviously they're generating a lot of really good guitars because you don't see a lot of used ones on the market in comparison to a lot of others. That said, that's probably indicative of the numbers of sales versus the numbers. But I do want to say that my take on the whole Kiesel experience is I think that you get the guitar you wanted. You get exactly what you asked. And I think there's something to be said for that. And number two, you get it for a decent price, a really decent. I don't know what you paid. I'm sure you're gonna go.
Yeah, dude. The guitars are inexpensive for what you get. So I went to Kiesel in December. I started having conversations with people in the group saying, this is kind of what I'm looking at, like looking at different builds and getting some opinions. And it immediately became very apparent their website sucks. Their website is like from like the 1980s. It's like really bad. Their builder doesn't have all the options for the guitars in it. It doesn't list any of the extra like option 50 stuff you can do, which option 50, if you didn't know, if you order an option 50 guitar, you can't return it. So it makes it return void, but you can get a lot of stuff done option 50, a ridiculous amount of things, but pay more. There's more money involved. Certain other things are like option 48. I know that's what I called it when I was ordering. And that's like, okay, so there's a charge if you want to return it. My guitar is technically option 48, and I'll explain why. So what ended up happening was like I was complaining about the website and the group, and I'm like, this sucks. This is ridiculous. How do I know what options are available? I'd like to place an order because I'm just thinking, oh, I'll just do it online. So everybody in that group just says, just call our guys, call my guys. That's what Jeff Kiesel always says. So there's 20,000 people in this group, by the way.
Can I interject for just a second?
Absolutely.
Number one, I think if a company, any company has an expectation that you would purchase their equipment online and almost exclusively online, then you should have an awesome website. Not just a good website, an awesome. But their website is almost like when Carvin went online and they never updated.
It is absolutely when Carvin came online.
Yep. That's number one. And number two, if your objective is to get people to call, you should say, right on the website, you don't see something you like. I don't mean in little letters at the bottom. I'm talking about huge letters.
Call us.
Love to talk to you. Please call us. Because I would love the opportunity to call.
I would rather just see an option sheet. Like if you don't want us to place orders online, put an option sheet up and let us check it off and then put the phone number at the bottom and say, when you're ready to order, please call this number and talk to whatever available customer service reps.
Right.
I get the personal hands-on build process. I didn't get it when I did it because I was like, I'm so used to doing stuff anonymously. Wouldn't it be nicer if I could just order the thing online and not have to talk to somebody? Like this would just be super easy for me if they could walk me through the build process. There are other companies that do that. They happen to be a little bit more expensive. And from what I understand, the quality is not there. So I called, right? And I was expecting to get the used car salesman approach. I expected to get a customer service guy on the phone who's going to try to upsell me on anything. And he literally was just like, I'm going to try to do my impression of my sales rep. I hope he's listening to this podcast. He did an excellent job helping me. But anyway, he's like, hi, this is blah, blah, blah from Kiesel. How may I help you? And I was like, all right, I'm looking to order a Zeus and I'm looking at a couple other guitars. Like, what would you recommend? And he said, well, what do you want? And then I told him like kind of what I'm looking at. And he goes, that'll be a really, really heavy guitar. And I said, okay. And then I made some changes thinking about it. And I was like, so would this be a lighter guitar? Kind of what I'm looking for. And then we basically just went back and forth on the table like that, but there was no pressure whatsoever. In fact, he let me lead the build process pretty much, which was like, that was really intuitive and really like great up front, was that I didn't feel like I was being steered in another direction. And when I asked for his opinion, he gave me his opinion, not the company's opinion, but his opinion. So I asked about a $300 upgrade to Fishman Fluence pickups. And he said, honestly, he's like, the only reason we're doing the Fishman Fluence pickups is a lot of young guys are calling in and they're wanting them. So he's like, we have them. If you want them, we can do them. He's like, they're $300. So I was like, all right, I was like, well, how do they compare to the Kiesels? And he gave me some kind of comparisons. He said, I don't really actually like the Fishman fluids very much. He's like, I prefer the regular Kiesel pickups. And then we got to talking about the finish. And like, I was going to do the raw tone finish, like the super thin finish. And he's like, actually, I don't like it. Like I asked him, I said, well, how do they feel? And he's like, I don't like it aesthetically, and I don't like the way they feel either. And so I asked him what he preferred. He's like, well, I'm more of a gloss guy. And I'm like, well, I want it to be slippery. Like I don't want to stick to it. So he recommended the satin. So I mean, like it was a conversational build. And I think we talked on the phone 2 or 3 times before I actually placed the order. Same guy. I had the same guy. He gave me his phone number, and I called him, and I got him every single time. And it was super easy. They ask for your deposit at the end of the build process. They send you a receipt thing that you like verify your build, and then you basically just call them back and then give them your credit card number for your deposit. So then they tell you this is where stuff starts to get dicey, right? Excuse me, I'm gonna I have to cough here. Sorry. They give you this build time that is like 10 to 12 weeks. And so I'm like, okay, 10 to 12 weeks. Like, all right, I can do that. So I ordered December 18th, I think it was. The guitar showed up today. The build time was about 4 days ago. So it ended on Thursday. Which that's right at, I think that's actually like 14 weeks. It's right at 14 weeks. Which is definitely bigger than their estimate. But I have to remember there are holidays involved, things like that. So it's right along with the 12 weeks. I mean, it's a little bit more than that, but I'm not frustrated. The one thing I didn't like was I mentioned it in the group that I was checking, my mailbox frequently, and some people jumped on me and were like, you shouldn't care because your Kiesel is going to be amazing and you're not going to care once you get it. Like I completely disagree with that even now, even though I have it. But I will say this. I disagreed with it in the group mostly because I was like, no guitar, no matter how good it is worth the wait. My Kiesel, and the way it's configured, it's not, I wouldn't say that it's worth the wait so much as it's a great guitar. It really is. And I see how people could say it is worth the wait. They've always prided themselves on being the guitar company that's like, we make custom shop guitars at affordable prices. Where's their quality level at? Like, in my opinion, I would say it's on the high end side of Gibson, closer to Gibson Custom Shop. I would say that there are 2 super minor issues that I noticed on my guitar. Number one, they missed like a hair of wood filler in the so there's a route underneath the bridge, and you'll see it in the photos in the group. I'll try to post some photos in the show notes as well if I can remind myself. Anyway, there's a hairline, like you can barely see it. You almost have to have a magnifying lens where they missed like wood filler, but it's in a crack, and it's like I don't even know how to get wood filler in there. So there's that, and then on the neck there is 1 fret, which if you sight down the side of the neck, you can see that the light hits it differently because it's slightly wider than the other frets. So like that would be the fret that would sprout. If any of them were going to sprout, that would be the one. But honestly, like it's stainless steel frets. It plays great. It sounds amazing. I'm 90% sure my body is a 1-piece body. It is African mahogany, some black limba. It is a dark guitar. You'll see that in photos as well, which I was advised of when I ordered it. And I kind of laughed. At first, I was like, well, maybe I should rethink it. But then I was like, no, wait, that's what I want. Like, I'm looking for a 7-string metal machine. Like, I don't care if it's a bright guitar or not dark in color or dark in tonality, but dark in color. Like, right. And it doesn't need to be hot pink or something. It's fine. So, I ordered it. I was thrilled with everything I've gotten out of it so far. I'm still in the honeymoon phase. Obviously, I was just delivered this morning, but I was pleasantly surprised with the quality level. It is better quality than either of my Korean, not Korean, my import GNL legacy tribute, my tribute guitars. And then it's up there with my SG, and it's definitely up there with my S500. Like they're all like in the same ballpark. I think they're all equally good at what they do. I will say that I'm still getting used to playing the 7-string part of it. That's probably the one thing that is holding me back. I was saying, like, this is a stellar guitar. It's a great guitar. It's definitely worth the $1,600 I paid for it. It is probably the nicest guitar I have in my collection because it's so custom. Like, there's things about it that the bird's eye maple fretboard, the black limba body, like those are things that I just don't have in my catalog of stuff. Most people don't, frankly. And that's one of the things that Kiesel prides himself on, is the ability to choose pick your poison. What do you want? I mean, you want a Koa body, like a full on Koa body. Yeah, they'll do that for you. It's $500, but they'll do it. Do you want like an oak burl for the whole body? They'll do it for you. It's going to cost you. I mean, they'll do Buckeye burl bodies. Like, and I'm not talking about a top, but the whole body is Buckeye burl. And that to me is just like, that's ridiculous. That's way into the ostentation territory. If I'm going to spend $6,000 on a guitar, I'm going to buy something that's going to have some real good resale value. I'm not going to buy a Kiesel like K8 or whatever. So they do have some guitars that are just absolutely absurd, like in terms of pricing. What I think Kiesel is best at is the I need something special that I can't get from any manufacturer, and I want it at a bargain basement price. I mean, $1,600 for this guitar. If I bought a Strandberg with comparable features, dude, I'm looking at $3,000.
Yeah.
I mean, for a 7-string Strandberg with a tremolo, and yes, mine doesn't have the fan fret, and it doesn't have their Endure neck, which is nothing. But also, mine's $1,600 and there's $3,000. So, I mean, if they were going to do a similar price point, I would expect them to come in around $2,500, $2,200, $2,250. To miss those other critical features. I don't. This hasn't changed my opinion on Jeff as a person, because I haven't seen him, like, I don't know. I feel like, a lot of the things he says about design, like, we're going to bevel the shit out of this. Sorry for the language, but I heard him say that in the video.
Right.
And, it's going to be beveled down to like a paper thin thing. And he says, we do that for comfort. This is easily the most comfortable guitar I've ever played. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I picked it up and it felt natural right out of the box. I've never, because I play Strat bodies because I'm so comfortable with Strat bodies. Like, I've been using them for years and they're all pretty much very similar. And so I can tell you the difference between my tributes and my USA, like, easily. Right. But this guitar, like, yeah, it's different, but everything just fell into place. It's natural. And it's done that way because of the bevel. The bevel's ugly, but if you want ergonomics, that's the way to go. Like, I get it. I think he's on to something with building ergonomic guitars. There's definitely a segment of the market for that. The metal market is rife with them right now. So I just want to point out, like, I think there is some genius there. I think his designs, because he's designing a lot of the headless, like, more metal style stuff that's coming out of Kiesel right now. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders when it comes to that. Whether he's going to be able to sustain that past the current metal trends is one thing, because obviously metal evolves and so do the instruments. I mean, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody in metal was playing Les Pauls. I mean, now we're all playing these super strats and comparisons and Kiesels and Strandberg. There's not a headstock in sight to put a logo on. So, I don't know. I think if you're looking for that kind of experience to go and get a custom guitar and get everything you want and check all the boxes, Kiesel's probably a good place to start looking. If you have to have the name on the headstock for some reason, like if you're in a cover band and everybody expects that you're going to play the Fender that so-and-so played or whatever, that's a good reason to go to the other guys. Yeah. But if you know what you want, I mean, again, I don't want to encourage people who are like, I'm going to buy my first $1,000 guitar and go buy a Kiesel. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because for you, if you've never owned a high quality like instrument, it's not that you won't appreciate it. You won't know the questions to ask. Like,
Right.
what do I want out of this thing? Unless you've upgraded a lot of guitars and you have somebody who has a lot of very expensive guitars that you played, you're not gonna know the right questions to ask. So
I gotta agree with you there.
Now, Jim, like you got PRSs behind you.
Yes.
This is easily as good as a PRS.
I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly.
And it's not because they cut out the middleman either. It isn't. It's because all they do all day long is make custom guitars.
Yes. And that's the difference. They're not making guitars that are the same factory line guitars. They always do custom. So custom shop is not different. Custom shop that's their daily routine.
Well, think about it this way. You have like the way Fender used to do it. You have the Abigail Ybarra, right? Winding pickups.
Yep.
So they're going through the factory, and each guitar goes through a single step in the process, and then it gets down to the assembly line, and it ends up in Abigail's lap where she's making the pickups for it, and then it gets gets assembled and moves to the assembly line. Kiesel does a similar process, but the difference between Kiesel and those guys is every single guitar that comes through there, other than the neck and body, and even the neck and body, which are done by CNC, are all custom. But other than the neck and body, every guitar is unique, and so every person that interacts with that guitar has to know their stuff. If they don't know it, then it's not going to come out well.
That's what I was saying.
So,
different is the norm for them.
Yeah, it's a problem solving thing. You got a bunch of guys and gals in that building who are problem solvers.
Right.
And so they have gotten really good at how to deal with every single thing that comes through. Whereas at Fender, if you get the gal that likes to paint Telecasters, painting Strats one day because Bonnie's out sick, then you're maybe your finish your sunburst is a little off.
Right.
And for them that's a walk in the park because nobody does the same guitar every time.
Right. Well, what I was going to get at with the Fender Gibson thing is the other thing that don't have with Kiesel and that is unique is you don't expect to have it now. You can't walk in and go, I got my guitar. Yeah, I want to take it out of the store right now.
Yeah.
Now they do have ones that, like you said,
Kiesel has the pre-builds you can buy on their website.
Right.
They're usually pretty pricey. Yep. They usually have a couple of really low-end ones, but most of them are pretty pricey. And a lot of guys buy the pre-builds. The problem is that's not what Kiesel's business model is built on.
No.
Right?
No,
and
you're right.
As to what you're saying, Jim, that 10 to 12 weeks, I was talking to guys in the group who are on 18 weeks.
Yep.
18 weeks. And you have a 10 to 12 week build lead time most of the time.
And so, were they complaining or how is the guys
that had multiple Kiesels were not complaining. And most of the guys that were having to wait that amount of time were waiting for wood because they had a very fancy top on order. And oftentimes that means that also like Jeff might be doing the refinishing work or the finishing work on that guitar. So they're in process. Like everybody knows that if you're going to do that stuff, it's going to take longer. And I think the build team would be upfront with you about that too, if they know about it. My complaint was they won't give you an estimate during the process. And in my opinion, like, yes, I know, like, look, I paid my deposit.
Yeah.
Right. Now I got my order sheet. I know I got a guitar in the oven. But my problem is when I go to them and I ask them, they have my money and I have nothing. So the least they could do is take my call and respond to me. And I didn't badger anybody. I didn't call anybody. I actually didn't call anybody. I sent an email one time when I made my final payment. Right. And I said, because it was a significant amount of money. I mean, we're talking, I think it was like $1,200 or something. And I'm like, yeah, any update, like when it's going to be due? I know we're right around 12 weeks. I wanted to pay before it was done. And he was like, soon. And that's what they say. And I've heard that they say that until 14 weeks hits. So unless your guitar is more than 2 weeks overdue, they'll say soon. After that, then they'll start looking into why your guitar hasn't shown up. And it's because they don't have a computerized inventory system. They don't have any way to track when things are getting done. And like, I respect that. But to a point, like when you set the expectation as a 10 to 12 week build time, like that's the expectation. And I was called out in that group over there multiple times by people by saying that was an expectation. And I said, they said it. I don't care whether or not that was the promised delivery date. They said the build time is 10 to 12 weeks. So I expect at 12 weeks, I should get an update. When I call in or when I email somebody, they should be cordial to me and give me an update, not say soon. And I'm sorry, if that's Jeff Kiesel's policy, it's bullshit. And there ain't nobody that's going to tell me otherwise.
No, you're right. You're right. I agree with you. Again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now, that said, I was hoping you'd say, yeah, I called them and they said it was going to, or
no, never got a word from him. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's only because I know the quality of the product's there. And my whole thing was like, I haven't seen this thing yet, and it's going to show up. And like, there's a very good chance I could be selling this thing. Like, that's kind of the way I was feeling about it. But at the same time, I'm also sitting there going, look, you have my money. Like, this is really not fair for you to deny me to know what's going on. It really isn't. You can pretend like that all day long. Lots of guys in the group are like, they're very pro Kiesel. And whatever Jeff Kiesel says makes him God. And I really wish we could get past the sycophantism. I wish we could get past it because that's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but there's no difference between their business and my business. And when I ran my own business, if a client asked me how long it was going to take something to happen, I would tell them, to the best of my ability, how long it would take. And I would give them, hey, this is a general estimate, just so you know, because guess what? I had to set the expectation. And if I don't set that expectation, I'm not getting the job.
Right.
Okay? And if I didn't hold my feet to the fire and get things done on that timeline, I didn't keep that job. So for them to act like, oh, we got your money now, so we don't have to tell you anything, it's ridiculous. It's Stone Age. We haven't operated that way since the 1980s.
Yep.
So I don't know. I have my frustrations with the process, but overall, I think the product's great. I think you can get a really solid, if you got time to wait and don't plan on it being 10 to 12 weeks. I wasn't really planning on it. I was excited. I wanted to get the guitar in my hands. I was really excited about it.
But I think, I think that what they should do better is to say, hey, you know what? It's 10, 12 weeks, but it might go over. Or if you don't hear from us, Here's a thought.
Jeff, don't buy another fucking race car. Spend the $10,000 or $20,000 to put inventory management into your business so your guys don't have to walk around on the floor to get that number from me. Because I'll tell you right now, there was a sheet that was assigned to my guitar that had all the options on it. They followed it around through the factory, and that was the only thing that had my name on it.
Yep. And that sheet stays with your guitar or stays with your parts.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the way they used to do it in the 80s. Like, I worked for companies where their machines were older than Jeff Kiesel, okay? And they weren't doing it that way. Even though the machines were that old, they had put the money into the computer equipment to actually track materials they're building. And if they're really building 20 guitars a day, is what they're saying, they're shipping out 20 guitars a day, then they need something like that. Because that means they have, so if you think about 10 to 12 week lead time, right? 20 guitars a day, how many guitars are in the pot at any given time? You can do the math. 20 times, 12 weeks times 5 gives you 1,200 guitars in the pipe at any given time that they don't have accountability for. So when Jeff Kiesel moved his factory and he says, we lost 100 guitars, somebody stole 100 guitars from us, and we need your help catching them. They didn't lose 100 guitars. They have no inventory control. They don't know what the hell they've got in the oven. They have no idea, other than the amount of sales orders they have and their accounts receivable, which I'll bet you their books aren't that good either. So it's mind-boggling to me how in this day and age we can run a business like that and to have a guy like Jeff Kiesel who is running around with fancy cars and stuff like that and flaunting it on Instagram and Facebook. Yet
he flaunts it to the group.
Yeah.
The same sycophants that are over there going, oh, Jeff is God. are also the people who are sitting there going, "Oh man."
Yeah, we're all the ones eating ramen so we can buy guitars from him. Yeah. Like, think about it. Don't not hold him to the fire. Like, what the hell? Yeah. At some point, we got to stop the madness. Stop the insanity. We really have to like nail it down, get right in their faces, and tell them these floors are dirty as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. No, we just need to we need to slow down. Don't do what David does. Don't yell till you're hoarse like I have tonight. You need to slow down, calm down, and just know that your guitar will show up eventually. Because that's what the Kiesel guys want you to do.
That's what, yeah. I mean, well, the fact is that if I had a custom order guitar.
Dude, it's $1,600. Like, that's a down payment on a car. You're damn well better believe that I want to know where my guitar is at. And you know what? I know Kiesel's been in business a long time, but it doesn't mean they can't close their doors and walk away with your money either.
And it really wouldn't be that hard for them to set up inventory record tracking to know where it was.
Not at all.
And not a lot of money either.
No, that's why I said you can do that for under $10,000.
Right.
Who is their IT consulting firm? Because it's clear they don't have IT on site. Like, it's really clear.
100% sure. I'm 100% sure.
Call me. I'm an IT guy. I'll fly out. I'll help you put inventory management in. Call me. Call my guys. Yep. Call my guys. David Hill Network Solutions. Call my guys.
Which is you.
Yeah, why not?
Call my service.
Yeah, call my guys. Like, I'll take care of you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I'm of the mind. What I told you about my PRS way back. I sat on a waiting list for a year.
And that was back in the day when you sat on a waiting list for them.
And you did. And I sat on a waiting list. I sat on a waiting list to order one.
Yeah.
One to order it.
Yeah.
I didn't buy that particular one.
You know, if I was Kiesel, you know what I would be telling people? When people are putting in an order for the guitar, it's going to be between 12 and 20 weeks. Because that's the expectation. That's the real expectation.
Yep.
Mine wasn't 20 weeks. It was 14. But that's the expectation.
I sat on a list to get on a list. That it was I don't think an $8,000 guitar to $10,000, somewhere in there. That guitar that I wanted to get on the list. You had to get on a list to get on a list.
Yeah. Jim was going to buy a Dragon, by the way.
I was going to buy a Dragon. So you had to be on a list of people. It was like getting Super Bowl tickets.
And then Jim would have sold it so he could buy a house.
Yeah. They only came out once a year. And it was like being one of those.
It would be the only guitar you owned that went up in value.
Yeah. They're like $40,000, $50,000 now.
Yeah, dude.
What I was on the list for was literally that much money. I decided to take my name off.
Being the practical guitarist, I have to say, good job.
Yeah. Even though I lost all that money, good job. But I would have spent a lot, and that was a lot. But that said, it was like trying to get on those lists, to get I want to get one of the Jimmy Page, the real Jimmy Page Telecaster.
Yeah, you're like calling every dealer in the United States, seeing if they're going to get one, and then being like, I got a car down payment here for you, like.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll give you $1,000 extra.
Yep. Yeah, but only certain dealers and only certain. I mean, it was like, back then there were only people that got PRS dealers were like this microcosm of our dealer.
Yeah, and the reality is the way that the people actually get on those lists is they call Fender and ask.
Yep.
How do I get on the list? And they're like, well, we got one going here. I'll call them and talk to them for you.
And a lot of those people are ones that Fender called them, hey, we're going to do this. Are you interested in getting on that list?
Yeah. So when they tell you they're doing a run of 50, maybe 49 of them are already sold because they already know who they're going to.
There's Andertons was talking about when they did their NAMM coverage, they were talking about the Jimmy Page that they got because they got one.
Yeah.
Not the cheapy version.
No, the custom shop, replica.
$20,000, whatever. And he said, yeah, we appreciate that one customer very much.
Yeah.
That was it. But they make their trip with that, they make a lot of money on one person.
Yeah, because that's like, if it's a $20,000 guitar, their cut of that's probably $7,000 or $8,000.
Because I remember when
about a third of it.
Yep. I remember when the Jimmy Page Les Paul came out. I think I told the story. It came out for like $16,000 or $14,000.
Yeah.
And when it hit the market, my local Guitar Center got one.
Yeah.
And it came in, and everybody the guy that got it was standing there like, "It's mine." And everybody was oohing on. You saw it on eBay the next day.
Oh yeah.
For like
yeah, dude. Yeah. Like that's usually where they're going. That's the other thing. The guy that initially buys it, he ain't keeping it. Like he might as well be a dealer. I mean, honestly, like that guy in New York that you knew about, who had like the house where he had all the PRSs and stuff in cases and the sheets, and you just ask him what you wanted to look at, and he'd go find it for you. Like that guy was basically a dealer operating out of his house. I mean,
he was a dealer operating out of his house.
Yeah, I mean that's.
And this guy, his name is Chris. You don't know where he lives. You don't get to go to his house.
No, that's another house he owns to store guitars in.
It's a safe house type thing. This guy is, dude, I mean, he's got millions of dollars of inventory.
Yeah.
I don't know what his homeowner's insurance looks like, or if he's got like a business insurance.
Oh, he's definitely insured somehow. All right. Well, we've had a good run of it tonight. We're at 2 hours and 23 minutes on my clock, which means we're probably about 2 hours and 10 minutes in. So I'm not going to hold anybody accountable for anything that was said here tonight. No. I do ask that you all take a grain of salt before you write all the hate mail for the political comments and the discussion about sexism this evening. And that everybody...
like two men know how not to be sexist. That's what I'm
Everybody stops giving hugs to Jeff Kiesel, and maybe he gets the tough love he needs. So, it's been a great night. I've been David.
I've been Jim.
And tonight we've been the Practical Guitarists.
That's correct.